One word. That's all Boris Becker gave her. Not a paragraph, not a bold prediction, not some big statement about the next great champion. Just one word, typed under a post that Rafael Nadal had shared about a young Filipino player named Alex Eala. Nobody paid much attention. A 6-time Grand Slam champion leaving one word in a comment section that's not exactly breaking news. But rewind 14 months later, and that single word suddenly looks like a man who saw something before the rest of the world did. Because Alex Eala didn't just show up on a big stage. She walked onto center court at Wimbledon and knocked out the defending champion, with Roger Federer watching from the stands. And Becker? This time, he had plenty to say, just not about her. He went on his own podcast afterward and picked apart the player Eala had beaten, naming her as the biggest disappointment of the tournament. Not Eala, her opponent. 2 reactions, 14 months apart. One tiny word the first time. Total silence about Eala the second time. And that's the part worth sitting with. When a man who never stops talking suddenly has nothing to add about the player everyone expects him to praise, what does that silence actually mean? Maybe it means the conversation has already moved past him. Because right now, Alex Eala isn't a story being introduced. She's a story already in motion. Let's go to Washington, D.C., July 28th, Rock Creek Park. Eala steps onto the court carrying a career-high ranking on her back. No, 28 in the world, just 21 years old. Across the net, Qinwen Zheng, an Olympic gold medalist trying to claw her career back into shape. This wasn't a gentle opening round draw. For a long stretch, it looked like Eala's tournament might end early. She dropped the first set. She fell behind. Zheng was serving big, hitting clean, and looking every bit like the higher-ranked player she was. But here's where the match flips. Eala didn't force anything. She didn't chase one huge shot to change the momentum. She just started chipping away a game here, a game there, until the player who'd been dominating was suddenly the one under pressure. Final score, 4-6, 6-4, 6-1. 9 of the last 10 games went to Eala. Not a comeback. A complete reversal of who controlled that match. And the most interesting part isn't even the scoreline, it's how it happened. Zheng came out swinging, 14 aces. A 5-3 lead in set 1. That's usually the point where a player of her caliber shuts the door for good. Eala just didn't let the door close. That's becoming her signature. She doesn't always blow opponents off the court. Sometimes she simply refuses to go away. And that distinction matters more than people realize, because power grabs headlines, but the ability to hang around, absorb pressure, and outlast someone is what actually builds a career. Now here's a twist most fans missed entirely. Eala wasn't originally scheduled to play only singles in Washington. She and Venus Williams were set to team up in doubles, a genuinely exciting pairing between a rising star and a legend of the sport. Then, the draw sheet came out. Eala's name wasn't on it. No scandal, no big announcement, just a quiet absence where fans expected to see her. She later explained it herself. She simply didn't have the physical bandwidth to give both singles and doubles what they demanded. That sounds like a minor scheduling call. It isn't. This is what happens the moment a young player's results start outpacing what her body can sustain. The calendar doesn't slow down because you're suddenly the story of the summer. The travel keeps piling up. The expectations get heavier. And eventually, you have to choose not what looks exciting on paper, but what your body can actually survive. Eala chose singles. Then she went out and battled through 3 sets against an Olympic medalist. That tells you where her priorities sit right now. But let's not get carried away, because this isn't a finished product yet. Not even close. Her serve is still the clearest opening for opponents. And in the women's game right now, you can get away with a weakness for a while, but not forever. The players at the top don't just study your strength. They hunt for the one shot that disrupts your rhythm, the one pattern they can attack over and over until it breaks. For Eala, that's still her second serve, which is exactly why this story is so compelling. Picture what happens if that weakness turns into a weapon. She already has the movement, the anticipation, the competitive edge to trouble established names. Add a serve that can hold up under real pressure, and the ceiling on her career changes entirely. That's why her current ranking isn't really the headline. No, 28 is impressive. It's a career high. It's historic for her country. But the more revealing number is the distance between where she stands today and where she could be once the gaps in her game start closing. And there's another number worth pausing on: 1,666. That's Eala's total ranking points right now. Anastasia Potapova sits on the exact same number. The only reason one is ranked above the other is a tiebreak formula buried in the ranking system. Two players, identical points, separated by a technicality, yet only one of them has the tour buzzing about what's coming next. And that buzz didn't start in Washington. It's been building for years. At 13, Eala earned a scholarship to the Rafa Nadal Academy. She worked her way up through the junior circuit, picked up junior Grand Slam titles, and started testing herself against full-time professionals. Then came a wildcard run in Miami in 2025 that pushed her name into wider view. Then Berlin, then Birmingham, then Wimbledon, the tournament that changed everything. She didn't just show up and gain experience at a slam, she reached the second week. She became the first Filipino player, man or woman, to get that far at Wimbledon in the Open era. And along the way, she beat the reigning champion. That's not a soft draw. That's not a viral clip. That's a genuine marker on a career timeline. Step back and look at the bigger picture for a second. Tennis has seen sudden breakouts before Naomi Osaka's run to the 2018 US Open title. Emma Raducanu's stunning 2021 breakthrough. Those stories were defined by one unforgettable tournament. Eala's story reads differently. It's not one flash of brilliance. It's a build, match by match, ranking point by ranking point. She isn't arriving out of nowhere. She's been climbing the whole time. And the tour is only now catching up to that fact. Which brings us back to Boris Becker. Not because one legend's opinion decides whether she becomes a star, her results will do that. Not a comment section. But his reaction is a useful measuring stick for how fast the conversation around her has shifted. 14 months ago, one word from him was enough to notice. Now, he doesn't even need to say her name. The scoreboard says it for him. Think about that shift. A young player gets a passing mention and a legend reacts. That's a nice moment. Then she walks onto center court and beats the defending champion, and suddenly nobody needs to introduce her anymore. The result already did the talking. Maybe that's exactly why Becker turned his attention to her opponent instead. Once Eala had won, the real question wasn't whether she belonged in the conversation. It was why a proven champion couldn't find a way to stop her. That's an entirely different kind of scrutiny. And here's the part that shouldn't get lost in all of this. Eala is still only 21. She's ranked 28th. Her serve still needs real work. Her conditioning is still a work in progress. She's still learning how to manage a packed schedule to the point where she had to walk away from a high-profile doubles pairing because she knew she couldn't do both singles and doubles justice at once. None of that is a red flag. It's just evidence of a career still under construction. And that's exactly what makes her dangerous. Imagine a player who's already reached historic milestones while still carrying obvious, fixable weaknesses. That should worry everyone ranked above her, because the finished version of Alex Eala isn't here yet. We're watching the build, and the next stretch could be the hardest part. Once you're inside the top 30, nobody takes you lightly anymore. The easy matches disappear. Opponents study your patterns, your tendencies, what you do when the pressure spikes. Every match becomes a test of whether the player you've become can hold up against people who've lived at this level for years. The challenge was never getting to no. 28, it's staying there. Then climbing past no. 25, no. 20, no. 15, then eventually running into the names everyone already knows by heart. One thing stands between her and that next level. Consistency. Not a single unforgettable match. Not one dramatic comeback. Not one signature upset. Can she serve with confidence when the stakes get bigger? Can her body hold up through back-to-back deep tournament runs? Can she recover fast enough between matches? Can she keep performing against opponents who now know exactly what she's capable of? Those questions will write the next chapter of her career. And if she answers them well, the top 20 stops being a dream and starts being the obvious next target. So here's a prediction worth putting out there. Alex Eala breaks into the top 20 before the US Open wraps up. But getting there will expose her biggest weakness along the way, her serve. Because the better she gets, the harder opponents will come after it. What survives against a struggling player won't survive against an elite one. That's why the next few months might reveal more about her than everything that's happened so far combined. The surprise factor is gone. The tennis world knows her name. The legends know her name. And every player she walks past in the locker room knows exactly who she is now. That changes the entire equation. Alex Eala isn't chasing the players ahead of her from a distance anymore. She's standing right in their path, and every win she picks up forces someone else to make room. So think back to that one word Boris Becker left under Nadal's post. 14 months ago, it looked like nothing. Today, it looks like a man who saw it coming. Maybe he never needed a speech. Maybe he didn't need to call her the future of the sport. Maybe the biggest compliment a young player can earn isn't something written online at all. It's the moment tennis stops asking, "Who is she?" and starts asking, "How do we stop her?" That's exactly where Alex Eala stands right now. Not finished, not flawless, not unbeatable, but dangerous. And the scariest part for everyone above her in the rankings is simple. This story isn't close to over. It's just getting started. So, does Alex Eala crack the top 20 before the US Open is done? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. Because we're not watching to see if she can shock the tennis world anymore. We're watching to see exactly how far she's about to go.